Hey guys, what's up? It's time to talk about Bleach for a brief couple moments here.
Bleach, are you sure you're not talking about Inspector Gadget?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad. Wrong video.
I'm sorry. No, but seriously, did he take pointers from Inspector Gadget having a bunch of hundreds of random crap in his body that just so he could just so happily have for any random situation that might pop up? Like,
Yeah,
hey, I might encounter someone who might try and use their nerves to control my body. So let me master the ability to freaking move my veins and muscles and nerves around my body just in case, so they can't take control of it. Or hey, just in case that same person tries to put the nerves on the ground so they can catch me, I'm gonna learn how to do the Quincy flying thing.
yeah, the Hira and Kyaku, yeah.
Like really? What?
Yeah, I can't stand Kurotsuchi anymore. I was like, if you, I've been doing a review for this for like a year, but um, yeah, and you guys know I just got sick of Kurotsuchi a long time ago, and this is just, it's
Like
too
really?
much.
Like it's like it is getting tiresome, but it's like I don't know what but I'm not exactly sure what I would want in its place if they were to change it, because it's like I'm that's like his character.
Kisuke.
He's Kisuke, but I mean yeah, I mean but Kisuke would be somewhat similar in well, no, Kisuke, he knows everything.
Yeah,
Mayuri, he has something for every situation,
right.
so it's like that would be an interesting duo.
Yeah.
But the point is that you know Kisuke wouldn't have probably wouldn't be able to counter Perninda.
I don't know.
Whereas, I mean, it just seems kind of see it's not Mayori's fault. It's friggin' Kubo's fault for
Yeah.
writing villains in that have that. Oh, I can. The only way I can be countered is by Mayori.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
there's one thing when you create characters or villains that are very good if a certain person faces them, such as like for example, in other series like One Piece or Naruto, when it's like okay, this person's tailored, these are your opponents. That's okay. That serves the purpose of the arc and the story of the arc. But the problem is that with Kubo, he's making characters that would literally destroy the verse, could literally beat everyone in the verse unless it's Mayori. Like just look at the friggin' Rancard dude. Like he could literally crush your organs without even
Yeah.
touching you. So the only person who can survive could have beaten him was Mayuri. It's like, and now again with Perninda, it's like, oh, the only way to beat Perninda, the only person who could even stand a chance against Perninda is Mayuri. It's like, why do you have to? I mean, yes, you're supposed to give them interesting abilities so that way it's just not boring. But do you really have to give them abilities that are forced, that where nobody in the entire verse could stand up to them except for Mayuri? Like, why even bother sending anybody else? Just send Mayuri to Yuha Bak and he'll just win it all because he'll have something.
Right. It's like
Like, really?
I I put a drug in my body so that if you stabbed me, it would absorb all the Soul King powers. It's like some shit like that. I don't know.
I don't know. And it's like, I have this drug that, like, is somehow can it change itself to have different effects. So even if you can see the future, you won't know what it's impossible for you to figure out which effect will hit you at that particular moment because the effect of the drug is always changing or something like that.
Hmm.
It's Yuha Bak. You got to get around that all-seeing eye. stuff.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, Pernita could be beaten by somebody else if they were just literally strong enough, but it's just the point that it's like this guy, he's
No, it's
OP,
because the whole idea of that nerve is that you need someone who can hit from afar.
like Byakuya.
Byakuya would have been a much better opponent because, assuming that his Bankai still does the same stuff.
Well, Shikai pretty much does. It's just a lot stronger at this point.
Well, I mean, I don't know because didn't he also have to get a new Zanpakuto?
Well, we saw a Shikai, um, but
I don't know. It's been so long, I forget.
it was he broke through Astronaut's shit, whatever it was, and he used just regular Senbon Zakura and just destroyed Astronaut before Rukia finished him off. Um, so
But anyway, so
yeah,
the idea is that Pernita's set of abilities is just tailor made to be taken out by Mayuri.
pretty much.
So it's kind of annoying, especially when not much happened. I mean, we learned two things. Once again, Mayuri has everything he needs to take down Pernita, and two, Pernita can use nerves to even control inanimate objects,
Right, which was kind of cool.
which is cool because you could say, oh well, maybe he can take control of, I don't know, someone's Zanpakuto or something. Who
Yeah, well,
knows?
that's living, but well,
Hmm,
I mean, he could take control of an arm, um, but I don't know.
I
He
don't know.
might not be able to.
Who knows? The point is that it doesn't matter because Mayuri has everything he needs,
Hmm.
which is boring once again because it's like, okay, see, the reason why his fight with the Iran car wasn't as boring was because he just shows up on the scene. The guy he does the whole thing about crushing the organs. He says, "Okay, I have like doubles or triples of every organ in my body, so I got backups." And then he just goes in, stabs. I think he like stabs him, or no. He doesn't stab him yet. He gets stabbed or something, and or just or I think was it the organ that he crushed or something had the drugs in it.
Oh, it was Nemu who had the drug, and he anticipated that he might try to
Attack her.
absorb her, and he did, and
Yeah,
that
like
didn't
after his
work.
initial attack failed against Mayuri, he went after his lieutenant. The drug, boom, and then he stabs him, and he's spending 1,000 years imagining, trying to experience this one blade being dug into him.
Yeah, and that was the first time he ever did something like that, so it was fine because his first actual battle he lost to Uryu, and he hasn't like gotten the
Because he
shit
was
kicked out of him since.
because he wasn't prepared
Right.
to face Uryu.
And it makes sense because he was prepared to fight Szayelopero because he was like eavesdropping in on that fight through Uryu because he had stuck. I think they said they stuck like a device on him or something that allowed him to like observe the fight, and so he prepared for it. So that makes sense. Like but
But
as the things went on, like the fights went on, it just became more and more ridiculous.
because it's like, how could you have possibly be prepared for these
Yeah,
people whose abilities you had no idea? Like, how could he have known? How could you have known that you were going to face somebody that would require you to learn? You'd be put in a situation where you couldn't use your step technique to
yeah,
hover in the air, where you would need to learn the Quincy's technique, as well as an ability to move up. Well, I mean, then again, he probably already had that ability beforehand, so I'll give him a pass on that one because that's just something I guess he would think of that I need.
uh-huh.
But really, the Quincy's ability doesn't make any sense to me.
No, not
And we
really.
so anyway, and like I said, not much happened. I mean, this is just par for the course with Bleach, unfortunately, is that not much really actually happens in these chapters.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm glad that we're focusing on Mayuri and Pernida because I'm hoping that maybe next week he'll finish her off and then we can move on to one of the other fights.
Yeah.
Because we all know that they're going to spend like anywhere from like 3 to 5 chapters per fight. And that's not even including the fight against Hashfalt and friggin' Yuha Bak, which could be like another 30 chapters.
Mhm.
And then and that's assuming that after that's over, that the series is over. Like, there's not going to be like, there's only going to be like, I don't know, that's 2 or 3 wrap up chapters. That no, it's probably going to be even some more BS after that. So it's like, he says it was honestly this whole idea of Bleach is ending soon in like 2015 is the same. Like, it was like, I feel like that's the same as freaking Kishimoto saying at the beginning of the fourth Great Ninja War arc, saying this was the last arc. It's like, oh, you think it's gonna end soon, but no, not
Yeah.
really. I mean, maybe he could end it by the end of 2015 if he had a much faster pace, but his pacing is too slow,
Right now,
way
yeah.
too slow. Period. On average, his pacing is slow. Like, it's very deceitful. If you're you go in there, you binge watch the anime or binge read the manga or some combination, and you're like, oh yeah, this is awesome, and you think the pacing's not that bad, but it's deceptive. And that's for any series. It's like, oh, you binge read or watch to catch up, and then you think there's not really an issue with the pacing, and then you're like, now that you're sitting there having to wait a week or 2 weeks or whatever for the stuff to come out, you're like, ugh, this pacing is so slow. I thought, what happened to the fast pacing of before? And then you realize, wait, it wasn't fast paced before. I was just didn't have to wait, and it's the waiting that's the worst when it comes to a slow paced manga such as this. So the
Well, I
fact that you
mean, it's been like the last couple months have been slower than like a lot of prior like pacing because the pacing was actually pretty good in the beginning of the war arc, but
Yeah,
it's
because
kind
a
of gotten
lot of stuff were
slower.
going down, and then the first wave of attack, the first huge wave of attack was over, and then we just had this like void of not much really happening, and this whole everybody finally getting to the Soul King Palace area, and everyone's going up against the elite of the elite.
Yeah,
Was supposed to promise like a large increase in action and information, and to the point where it's like, hey, an actually decent paced section. But no, it still seems very slow paced.
yeah. I think it really like the point where it started to drop was the second that the Squad Zero got taken out because there it was actually decently paced back there. And then after they got taken out, all of a sudden the pacing just suffered like massive compared to before.
And it's just un like unfair to the fans that Kubo is doing this, because it's like we could have covered like this week's chapter and last week's chapter could have easily been one chapter,
Hmm.
easily. So I don't understand why. It's like it's it's more unnecessary separation than friggin' separating the friggin' Hobbit book into 3 movies.
Which was understandable, but
Understandable from a money standpoint.
yeah, well, it worked. I'm not going to talk about that, but it worked. Um, but yeah,
But that's why I said it's more unnecessary. Like,
yeah,
separating that book into 3 movies was unnecessary, but the fans of the series don't really give a shit because they
oh,
love
they
Middle
did.
Earth.
Oh,
Oh
they
yeah,
did.
but they love Middle Earth, so too much to really give it. Like, if it was but it wasn't as long standing as this has been going on.
Yeah.
Like this has been going on for too long, and it's been, as fans, we're just tired of it. Most of us are just still reading because we want to stick it out to the end.
Hmm.
I mean, like literally, you could have probably. I could probably sit here and not read Bleach whatsoever for like 3 months, and then catch up, and it would be like it would be like, oh, it would be seem as fast, it would seem as fast paced as a regular week as some of the other weekly manga,
Right.
and you wouldn't, and not as much would happen, like, or just an even better example would be the past couple of months, like the past like 2 or 3 months. You compress all those read all the chapters that have come out in the last 3 months, and you realize almost nothing, not a lot has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, but that's pretty much the issue. My biggest issue with the series as a whole, and it's gonna be an issue until the series is over, or Kubo decides to take some speed or coke and start speeding, increasing the pacing.
Hmm. I mean, if he goes back to the way he was doing it before, I mean, that's fine. I just don't like what he's doing now with the pacing. But yeah, I mean, overall, I
I
mean, the chapter was
and this slow pacing will be even more noticeable if they do good on their quote unquote promise to bring back the Bleach anime after the series is over.
Yeah.
And you see this stuff like 4 or 5, like a pacing of like 3 or 4 chapters an episode, and you're like, wow, this is a decently uh, paced episode. And then
Uh-huh.
you look at it, it's like what it feels like something that had maybe 2 chapters worth of content, but no, it had 4 chapters worth of content.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, how? So unless they do friggin' pull a Naruto Shippuden and throw in unnecessary filler and 1 chapter per episode type of episodes
Right.
to unnecessarily extend it. But I digress. So in the end, it was a very subpar chapter in
Yeah.
terms of manga in general, manga chapters in general. In terms of a Bleach chapter, it was okay.
It was
Because,
eh.
yeah, there you go. Meh.
All right.